When I was younger, my family and I we went on a road trip, and during that road trip, we rented a van. Like, it's always, an interesting experience renting a car that wasn't ours. And for this trip, the previous owners of the rental van, they left so much stuff in the car. Like I think there was like um, a graduation card or something, or it was some kind of card with like tons of money, like $300 in there. But the most important thing that they left in there, to me anyways, was they had this case of Nintendo DS games, and included in that case was Lego Indiana Jones. And over the course of my life, I've probably played that game more than any other DS game, besides maybe Pokemon, but it's definitely up there. And I always thought it's funny how, like, I probably never would have gotten that if it wasn't for that rental van. But that's what happens. I'm rewatching all of the Indiana Jones movies, and where better to start than the first one? Um, Raiders of the Lost Ark stars a young Harrison Ford as our protagonist, Indiana Jones, on his search to beat the stigma of archaeologists. See, if you ask me, the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear archaeologist isn't an action star, but that's just me. Um, Indiana Jones is on a search for the Ark of the Covenant, which has coincidentally been lost over the course of history. He's in a race against the Nazis and a French archaeologist working with them by the name of Belloc. If you haven't seen that, that's the basic plot of the movie. If you haven't seen it, there's no judgment here, but many consider it to be a classic. So if you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend going to watch it. Harrison Ford obviously is Indiana Jones, and he's done really what Harrison Ford does best is make and easily attach his name to a classic character that everyone knows. Harrison Ford is Harrison Ford, and he'll always be Indiana Jones. He'll always be Han Solo too. He's a legend, man. Starring alongside him is Karen Allen as Marion Ravenwood, the daughter of an older archaeologist colleague, and the main love interest in this movie. And man, Karen Allen, I've seen her in this and the fourth Indiana Jones movie, obviously. And I've seen her in Scrooged, and that's about it. The one with Bill Murray. I've seen her in those two movies, and that's pretty much it. Which, like, I don't think she put in a bad performance in either of them, but I guess she's just not cast and stuff. Also appearing as Belloc here is Paul Freeman, great actor him, and I was surprised to see that John Rhys Davies plays Sala in this movie, a companion and helper of young Indiana. And if you don't know who that is, he's Gimli in Lord of the Rings. And I was surprised to see his name because I didn't remember. I'd seen this movie before, but I didn't remember that he was in it. So that was kind of a nice surprise watching it. And he puts forth a good performance. So I mean, it's a classic movie, but it's not one of those where like everyone says it's good and then you watch it and it's not that great. This isn't that. It's the real deal. It's definitely worth watching, and a great adventure across the globe in the search for the Ark of the Covenant. Um, I'm not sure what else to say if you haven't seen it, but time to delve into some talk about specifics of the movie. So right at the beginning of the movie, when our protagonist is introduced, that's got to be one of the best introductions of all time. When, as he's walking through the jungle, you can only see the back of his head going through all these traps and sidestepping, while everyone else is like getting totally freaked out or something. Like it's always something, but then he just keeps trudging ahead. And then one of his companions pulls a gun on him, and he just he whips it out of his hand, and he slowly turns around and it just pans in on his face. Man, that's got to be one of the best intros ever, really. But even though that first scene doesn't have a lot to do with the plot of the movie, it really goes far to set the tone and introduce the characters. The two main opposing forces in the movie being Indiana Jones and Belloc. And I think Belloc's introduction says a lot about his character too. After Indiana went through all the temple and cleared all the traps, made it out with the idol, and he just takes it away from him. And it makes it seem like this has happened before. This isn't the first time that Belloc's taken away something that Indy has worked for, and because they do know each other. And after that scene is kind of when like the plot starts, but that's kind of the intro for the tone. Like it sets the tone for the rest of the movie, and I really like that they started it with that and got on to the rest of the movie. There's a ton of stuff inside this movie that like I didn't notice that I was laughing about. Like the monkey when they were in Egypt, that monkey that kind of was with them or not. Like he when his previous owner walked in to the bar and they saw the I guess they were Nazis, but he gave the hail or whatever the monkey did, and I cracked up laughing watching that. And there's a ton of like little details like that in this movie that you don't really, or you forget unless you've seen it like 20 times or more. And I haven't. This one I watched a lot when I was younger, and I saw it recently with a class in high school. They showed this, and so I haven't seen it. Like I don't remember every detail, but this just has a lot of hidden gems. So the action in this movie, it felt funny. Like it seemed a bit far fetched, and I really liked that they didn't take it too seriously, and that even more so in the later films. You kind of notice that like there's these situations that it shouldn't be like this at all, but he just bam bam bam, and the guy with the sword, and he just shoots him. But there's like the action in this movie, it was either funny or like towards the end it just got really creepy. This movie gets weird at the end. Let's be clear here. When they open the ark and it's like we gotta confirm, and just everybody just dies. That's one way to end a movie, I guess, but it worked within the plot. Like you're not supposed to mess with higher power, which is kind of like a theme of the film. Especially at the end when the U.S. government, they just lock it away in storage because they know that this isn't good to use. And I thought that was like pretty smart of the filmmakers, of Steven Spielberg, to do that, to kind of say that it paints America itself in a better light, saying that the U.S. wouldn't try to use this power. They'd know how bad it would be. And I really like that they ended it like that in the archives or whatever, and they just rolled the credits there. And I thought it was kind of a funny end, saying that even though Indy did all he could and tried his damnedest, he still didn't really get the credit, which is kind of a recurring theme considering the first scene, even though it's a completely different situation. So I thought that was the good way to end it, that ties in with the rest of it. The I don't remember his name, but the creepy German guy who had the amulet burned in his hand, I thought he did really good performances. I don't remember his name. I thought he did a really good put in a really good performance as the creepy German guy. Like World War II, you want to paint the Nazis in a bad light because they were bad, But what we see we don't really get to know that they're Nazis. Besides, this guy was evil. He was just a bad guy, and you could tell it in the way that he was characterized. And I thought that was really good. There's not really much to say that goes bad in this movie that wasn't, I'm not going to say intentional, but Steven Spielberg films to me have always, how do I explain it? It's not unfinished feel to it, but it just feels grounded. Like, even though all this stuff is happening, all of Steven Spielberg's movies feel like they're, I guess grounded would be the word that, you're watching a movie, but at the same time, it's kind of like real world. If you have thoughts about Spielberg, share them, because I'm interested to hear. Because I'm not gonna lie, this is one of I don't appreciate Steven Spielberg all that much, or his movies, anyways. Like, I didn't really like The Goonies, sue me, but E.T. was okay. I haven't seen E.T. in a while, though. I need to rewatch that. But, based on my opinion, this is definitely the best Steven Spielberg movie that I've seen. So, final verdict. Overall, on my leaderboard of my personal favorite movies, I give Raiders of the Lost Ark a 21. Just better than Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And I like Napoleon Dynamite just a little more. So that's where it fits in. So, thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you want to, and leave your comments on Raiders of the Lost Ark or Steven Spielberg below. And once again, thanks for watching. This has been another movie review.